pro-life legislation that they can get through Congress.
All right, that's popping up in an ad for Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and you thought it might be resonating with your opponents if your opponents are featuring you in their ads. The aforementioned Senator Tim Scott, kind enough to join us now. Senator, what do you think of that? You're the star in their latest ad.
Well, Neil, obviously my candidacy scares the dickens out of the radical left without any question. It's one of the reasons why they have me featured in their ad. When you bring out the former President Obama and now you have the Biden-Harris ticket featuring me in their ads, it tells you what the polls have shown for several weeks now, that I'm the most likely Republican candidate to beat Joe Biden. I'm looking forward to being that candidate. I'm looking forward to being the next president of the United States. I'm also looking forward to making sure that we have a 15-week federal limit stopping abortions after 15 weeks. That is in all of our best interests. 72% of Americans agree with that position.
And you don't go as far as some in your party, including those up for the debate this past week, Senator, who want to push that to 6 weeks. But nevertheless, the administration seems to you sort of lumping you in with them. And they sense that this is an issue that will poll well for Democrats, as it did in the last election. What do you think?
Well, Neil, there's no doubt that they're looking for some genie in a bottle, some rabbit in a hat to try to find a way to bring Joe Biden across the finish line first. It will not happen in 2024. Here's what the American people are so frustrated with. They're frustrated with this culture of grievance that brings with it the drug of victimhood, the narcotic of despair. They want to get away from this victimhood mentality and get back to talking about basic issues affecting the average kitchen table in America today. Bidenomics leading the way. Thousands of dollars of lost spending power because Joe Biden drove inflation over the last 2 years, nearly 16%, leading, as you know, Neil, to 12 consecutive Federal Reserve increases, meaning they've destroyed the ability for so many Americans to buy their first home. It means that the average family is paying 40% more for gas, 20% more for food, 20% more for electricity. That is devastating for households like I was raised in. But the border, our southern border is still wide open, unsafe, insecure, because Joe Biden refuses to use the resources available to finish the wall. No, he's actually selling parts of the wall. It's ridiculous.
So could I go back on the spending? I'm sorry, Senator. Back on the spending thing. Of course, Republicans are no stranger to spending a lot of money, right? And debt that piled up under the Trump administration. How do you explain then to the American people that this time Republicans take charge, they'll be different?
Well, Dale, one of the things that you can look back to when we were in the majority is the 2017 Tax Cut and Jobs Act that I was one of the 3 primary authors in the Senate. What we did there was we created an economy that led to low inflation, high employment, and $4,000 back to the average family. What we also need to do in my administration is work on and then pass a balanced budget amendment that restrains the growth of our government. That is one of the most important things that we can do. But Neil, you know this because you're an expert and a guru in finance. So let's just say it the way that it is. We have to also grow our economy somewhere near 5% consistently. That would help us create 10 million jobs in pursuit of that 5% growth. My Made in America plan that is based on my Opportunity Zones legislation would help us create millions of energy jobs, 2 million jobs in the innovation economy, and millions of high-tech manufacturing jobs being created or brought home from around the world.
No, there are a lot of very promising things you offered, and even in the debate, I noticed you might have been quieter than most, but you didn't raise your voice, you didn't shout, you didn't interrupt people, but you did say afterwards, Senator, we can't have a food fight on the stage. This is part of a fundraising email, I guess. Do you think that degenerated into a food fight? Do you think that is something that hurt your audience, that the general audience for the Republicans who want to be the next president?
Well, think about what this country wants in the next leader. They want someone who is stable, consistent, and dependable. What we saw on the stage was chaos. A food fight helps 2 groups. Number 1, the national media. They love it when Republicans fight. The road to socialism runs right through a divided Republican Party. And number two, Joe Biden and everybody else who's working on his reelection. Those were the two biggest winners.
Who contributed the most to
debate.
that, you think, Senator? A lot of people mentioned Ramaswamy, and then they went back and forth. Who's to blame?
Well, obviously, Vivek was probably the leading candidate who provided the chaos. Listen, the bottom line is that we have to find a way to talk about substantive issues if we hope to attract independents to the GOP, the Great Opportunity Party, and have the kind of movement that leads to a red wave, meaning we win the House with a larger majority, we win back the control of the Senate, and I become the president of the United States.
You know, I thought your closing remarks were the most memorable and penetrating, where you just sort of rephrase what you're about and what you think the Republican Party should be about. You don't need this reminder, but for those who missed it at home, I think they should hear this. Take a look.
If you're able-bodied in America, you work. If you take out a loan, you pay it back. You commit a violent crime, you go to jail. And if God made you a man, you play sports against men.
And you all did that without getting beeped or buzzed or any of that. Do you think the party has to do more of that? You and your colleagues have to do more of that?
Well, if we want to be the majority party in 2024 at the end of the election, we better go where we're not invited. We got to talk to voters that have not traditionally voted for us in the past, and we also have to win back voters who have left the party in the last few years. We can do all that by talking about the goodness of America. America is not in decline. We are in a Biden-led retreat. There's a big difference. The good American people are strong. They are healthy. They lean into the next future, the best future for their kids. The government is the problem. That's where the failure is happening. If we get that right, we have another American century just about to start. If we get that wrong, it may take us a century to recover from the challenges that will be created.
You were not among your colleagues who felt this way, but a couple said they would have a problem supporting Donald Trump if he were the nominee. Assuming you're comfortable with Donald Trump in that role, is there anyone else among those who were with you on that debate stage with whom you might have a problem being the nominee?
Well, the good news is I will be the nominee of our party, and therefore I'm excited about signing the pledge that I will support the 2024 Republican nominee. I think that's really what I'm trying to do. It's to remind America that America can do for anyone what she's done for me. If we focus on restoring hope and creating opportunities and protecting the America we love, we'll have another American century. If we focus on the rearview mirror and not the windshield of America's future, we won't get there.
The rearview mirror means relitigating the last election, is what you're saying.
The last election, and frankly, we also have too many people who spend so much time in the past that they forget that the next generation is more concerned about the future.
But if any one of those others, including Nikki Haley, your fellow South Carolinian, were to get the nomination and you did not, you'd be okay with that, even that included Vivek Ramaswamy?
Well, I can't imagine that happening, so of course I would be okay with that theoretically, but the bottom line is simply, I look forward to being the nominee, and Neil, I'm going to ask you for your vote too. God bless you.
All right, very good seeing. And I didn't ask you any questions about your spot-on Mr. T impression. That'll be for the next interview.
And you didn't ask about UFOs. I want to thank you for that as well.
Well, I just ran out of time. It was on my next one here, but the Senator, really, very good seeing you again. Thank you very much.
Take care, Neil. Have a good one.
All right, Senator Tim Scott. He does an outstanding Mr. T impression.